Hello there and welcome to this ADIPEC webinar in partnership with Honeywell. I'm Etna Trainer and thank you so much for being here. We're absolutely delighted that you've joined us. And we're very, very happy to be able to bring you this live interactive hour of discussion with experts and leaders in the energy sector. So it's great to have so many people from around the world with us. Thank you so much. Today, we're going to focus on the connected worker, and I know it's something all of you can actually connect with. So this is something of great detail and great information for all of you. But very, very quickly, before I get started, I'd like to just bring your attention to the screen in front of you here. It's a very dynamic screen. Many of you are familiar with it, but just take a moment in the event you're not. And it's designed really for your ease and comfort and flexibility, so you can move it around and find whatever you want to actually enlarge or reduce, whatever it is. Also, there's some research and information there that you can also have a look at later, of course. So we want your full attention for this one here. Also, alert your colleagues and associates, those of them perhaps that haven't had a chance to sign in. They can actually sign in throughout, and once they get very comfortable, and we'll get it all started. We'll have a few industry polls, so we really want your involvement in this because we know we love to ask you what you think, give us your feedback, and of course, this is important to the ADIPEC team, but also we want to make sure that our experts can address this, and we'll make sure that we have time for some questions. This is very, very important here. 3 great experts looking at the connected worker and what it's going to mean for the future. So please, please, by all means, get your questions in, and I will do my best to make sure that I can get them. We're going to have one short presentation before we begin our dialogue, and then we'll go to the questions from the audience, so make sure you get them in there. I'd also like to take the pulse, of course, of what's going on. It's almost a tradition now in the ADIPEC webinars, and I know some of you are just great. You send us thumbs up, you clap for us, you make sure that you tell us where you're signing in from, what's going on, how the weather is. So make sure you let us know what's happening. We're always very eager to connect with you all. And of course, all of this in the run-up to ADIPEC 2021. We're so excited. Here we are in February, and again, a few months just to get over the summer months, and then we're all gearing up to Abu Dhabi and ADIPEC 2021, and really looking forward to showing up in person and to meeting all of you again. It's been too long. So we're really looking forward, but we are delighted, of course, that technology has managed to keep us virtually connected. So thank you so much for being here. Let me introduce our dear panel. They have been waiting patiently. We have Ahmed Al-Danachi. Ahmed is joining us from Microsoft. He is the industry lead for energy and manufacturing here in the Middle East and Africa. So Ahmed, great to have you on board. Also joining us is the director from Partners in Performance, Alex Oliveira. So Alex, again, lovely to have you on board. Great to see you. And the solution sales leader for Connected Worker from Honeywell, David Griffin, joins us. So David, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm really looking forward to listen to this presentation to really set the tone for our discussion. So over to you, David. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Etna, and thank you, audience, for joining. I'm certainly excited about the opportunity to talk to you today about Honeywell's vision for the connected worker. Our vision is really driven by a lot of the challenges that I think are all too familiar to most of you here in the audience, specifically as it relates to the worker. Honeywell's trying to look very comprehensively to address several key challenges. The first is increasing tool time. How do we give our workers in the field the tools and capabilities and knowledge and information that they need to get a task done efficiently and right the first time, right? How do we eliminate the wasted time, whether you're walking or driving back and forth to a central control center, you're looking for additional information, additional schematics. How do we eliminate that wasted downtime, really concentrate as much as we can on getting workers in the field and productive, doing what they need to be doing? The second challenge we're addressing is the capture of key operating data. Never before has it been easier to capture data from the field. Sensors have become very commonplace in many industrial applications. However, there's still a big hole on a lot of critical operating data where many of us are still relying on paper and pencil to capture key information from the field. That data often gets written down. It may get transcribed into a spreadsheet, or it may simply be put in a binder. And a lot of opportunity to capture that data, use it for analytical purpose, and then ultimately predictive capability purposes is being wasted. So how do we address that? And as we sit here, we're currently facing a generational challenge with the industrial workforce. Many of our workers are aging, many are hitting retirement age. Oftentimes these jobs are not seen as attractive to some of the younger generation workers. How do we make this? How do we make these opportunities attractive? How do we give the young people the skills and tools required to do their job, to keep them interested? And then how do we train them and retain them going forward? So these are the challenges that we're trying to address at Honeywell with our connected worker solution. And so our vision for the field worker of the future, they're always connected. They have the information that they need at their fingertips at all times. They're enjoying the same level of access and capability on site, and in their role as we do oftentimes in our personal lives, right? We have everything we need right in our pocket. We can access it anytime. We can learn on the go. We get critical data. We send messages and communicate with the people that we need to communicate with instantly. How do we bring the same level of capability to the field? And importantly, we're thinking very holistically about this challenge, right? It's not just about productivity. It's not just about training. It's not just about safety. You have to combine all three of these aspects into a holistic solution for the worker to keep them productive, to keep them upskilled, and to keep them safe. And Honeywell started to bring solutions to market in these areas in what we call our workforce productivity suite. And so this is a combination of digital workflow tools and remote collaboration tools. It really puts this information and puts these collaborative capabilities into the hands of the worker when they need it. And so through our digital workflow tools, we've enabled companies to both optimize current processes as well as think outside of the box and develop new processes that simply weren't possible with paper and pencil-based approaches. We're enabling the capture of key information that was never captured before. We're enabling predictive analytics that is, this is going a long way to minimizing downtime. And our customers are seeing tremendous savings from that. They're seeing both time-based savings in terms of efficiency, and they're seeing downtime savings in terms of getting, key critical assets up and running much more quickly. Think minutes instead of hours, and think hours instead of days. And the technologies that are enabling these capabilities are very comprehensive, right? Everything from edge devices that are capturing information to the mobile devices that are in the hands of the workers, all brought together via cloud and wireless technologies, and put together and made useful through industry-specific applications that Honeywell develops and delivers to our customers. So ultimately, looking to unlock the next step change in productivity, right? Automate your workflows, provide access to the critical information, reduce asset downtime, get activities done the right way the first time, and build the competencies and the retention capabilities that you need in your workforce, both this generation and the next. So thank you, Edna, and back over to you.
And thank you. Let me stay with you just for a moment, because if I might, now the industry, I think in recent years has been talking a lot about the connected worker and the remote connected worker in the field. But talk to us perhaps, David, in terms of what will this mean for the entire workforce, really?
Well, I think it's going to mean, if we stay in the industrial setting, right, what it's going to mean is better collaboration and faster resolution, right? And so one of the challenges in the industry today is you have these remote workers. In some cases, they are extremely remote, miles, even hundreds of miles away from potentially the expertise they need, the data they need, et cetera. And so there's just going to be a tremendous improvement in productivity, tremendous improvements in efficiency. The collaboration will greatly improve, and I think that's going to lead to wonderful benefits in everything from productivity to safety.
Yeah, and indeed, I think, as you say, we're all so familiar with mobility now, and we all know the advantages and how efficient it has made our daily lives. So naturally, it's going to hopefully, it'll probably make our work lives and professional lives a lot better. Thank you, David. We'll come back to you, and I will have lots more to talk to you about as we go throughout this discussion. Alex, if I might come to you, and again, how important do you think it is to actually have full visibility of activities in the field, particularly, inspections, audits, maintenance jobs? And is there a danger, is there a cost to maybe not having this in place?
Yeah, thanks, Etna. Well, we've seen several examples where full visibility leads to serious equipment failures, downtime, production downtime. So I think in today's world, full visibility is an absolute requirement for any well-run oil and gas company due to the consequences of the lack of visibility. And fortunately, or not fortunately, but COVID, what it's done in getting people out of their offices, it's actually accelerated digital deployment. And one of the key levers is indeed the connected worker, connected people. So we're coming into a world now where full visibility is an absolute requirement. And that full visibility, the way that, the work that we do has to be very closely tied to value creation and the risk of value destruction. So visibility and value for us are synonymous, really.
Ahmed, if I might ask you, and I heard David mention it there too, about keeping workers engaged. And really, when we look at developing and sustaining competencies, of a new generation of workers, this is absolutely essential because I think there is a bit of a different focus on it. How do you see the digital and mobility technologies actually helping?
Yeah, thank you, Etna, and this is a great question. Thank you for everyone, before I answer the question, to be on this call, on this webinar, and joining us in this very challenging environment. We are all remote workers today, and we need all to be connected workers as well. So there's a lot of need for redefining this remote productivity and what kind of skills and competencies are required and are needed for this new generation of workers to become even more productive and more efficient, and to be always kind of digital, right? And especially today with the mobility and the distancing we're facing, the digital literacy and the competencies upskilling are becoming really, really critical. It's becoming a priority for all the companies we're talking to in terms of how they can upskill the workforce. And for example, in Microsoft, we call it tech intensity. All the people at Microsoft, salespeople, business developers, business development people, they need to be well trained on all the technologies that we are putting in place today for our customers. So tech intensity is becoming key for us. And I think for our customers, we recently had a survey with our top customers in the world, especially in energy companies, and 71% of survey respondents said their companies are prioritizing digital skills and competency trainings when it comes to their digitalization investments. Cybersecurity comes as top of mind. 69% of surveys respondents said that 69% of those companies are today prioritizing upskilling people on cybersecurity, digital flow, and automation. The other point I just want to mention is that 34% of those respondents said that they need more creativity skills in their workforce, and another 71% of respondents cited a need for their employees to be competent on data and domain knowledge, which is now becoming a really critical key success factor for companies to get all the insights and to get all the employees having all the information and data about what's happening there in the market.
Indeed, and that's a wonderful word that I'm beginning to hear in the energy and the oil and gas sector, creativity. And there was a time when I don't think we had that word, but when you think of the great work of the scientists and the engineers involved in this industry, I mean, they really are the creators of just, incredible operations, assets, machinery, all of that when we think of the great work that they actually do. So that's lovely to hear Microsoft talking about that too. Let me go to a poll question because I want to get our audience involved, and I know we've just got this started, but it's always a good time to get those fingers on the buzzer and then to get you thinking about what questions as we actually move this forward. So we have a poll question. And again, we've heard a little bit there from our speakers about productivity and adding value and all of that. But have a look around your own environment now. And have you seen a change in individual productivity during the pandemic. So in the last year now, have you seen a change? And we have just 3 quick operational choices there, easy. It's either a no, that everybody is equally productive, before or after. Yes, there's a change, but it's less productive. And then yes, there's a change, but it's more productive. I'm going to leave you that one to think about for a minute. And David, if I might bring you in, and we'll talk about the poll question in a minute. But also, I think in terms of, what Ahmed was there talking about too, this concept, I think, of creativity. It is a different way of really thinking in this industry, isn't it? And all of the great work that I think, when we look at what Honeywell does, it almost frees up the engineers and the scientists to become who they were meant to be more creative, really. Tell us a little bit about what you think of that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think the key concept to that is providing people with the data and the expertise required to be creative, right? I mean, when you have access to the right level of information and you have the knowledge and background on what to do with that information, you're able to develop innovative new solutions to, minimize downtime, to, design and execute processes in half the time that you used to. And so, by providing this access and expertise, I think that just unlocks a tremendous amount of innovation, which is going to be required in this industry going forward, right? There's many, many challenges that we're facing right now. So this idea that we can create, new solutions to challenges, we can do that in a much more efficient manner, and we can do that across a much broader set of our employees is very, very important to the future of this industry.
Indeed. Alex, perhaps if you might give me your thoughts on that too, the concept, that perhaps engineers and scientists might have been involved in maybe mundane work, and even what David had been talking about earlier, filling out forms and doing all the paperwork and that, whereby really, the digital environment will give them time and unleash, what Ahmed brought up there, the concept of creativity. It's a great way to start this conversation.
Yes, I agree. And of course, creativity, as David said, links to innovation. But there are challenges here. Let's be clear. People's acceptance of technology, encounters some barriers from time to time. And what we're trying to create essentially is a digital democracy. So digital for all, where everybody is connected and able to contribute their expertise, their knowledge, and wired through data and wired throughout the organization, to drive towards value creation. So I fully endorse the concept of the innovation and creativity, but we need to be aware that to get to that environment, we need to have the right framework for that connectivity. We need to understand the situation that each company is in terms of data maturity, systems maturity, and at the end of the day, it comes down to the people that are required to use that technology. The technology is there, but not always do we see maximum value being generated from it. And I quote from a recent Ericsson report where they said, humans, we have a problem, which means that the technology is saying to the humans, why aren't you using me to create, to innovate? And so that's another challenge, yeah?
Really, there are many, many challenges, of course, associated with that. And even a few challenges for me here. So I'm getting the results of our poll, but thank you for watching the poll. I obviously asked you the wrong ones. So here we are in terms of, the extent of difficulties facing there, particularly on travel restrictions, was one of our questions that we had up there. And I'm sure, we also can talk about productivity and that, but we can talk about that a bit later. So again, the travel restrictions, I think for everybody, again, I'm not surprised there. People are concerned about it. It has impacted them. I had a trip to Abu Dhabi myself today, and it was very exciting. So between Abu Dhabi and Dubai, we're not actually doing a lot of it. But David, if I can come back to you, and again, people are not traveling, but this sense of connectivity is very alive. It's very well. And again, this, I would say, thanks to the technology that has been in place. But would you say now that it really has been rolled out and people have managed, without being able to travel, without being able to meet in person, to actually make sure that they are connected?
Yeah, I think this the travel restrictions have really accelerated the deployment of this kinds of capabilities. I think I'll provide two examples that I think are very instructive in terms of the power of these kinds of collaboration tools. So there is a very large manufacturer who, in the pre-COVID times, had a very specific audit process where they would fly teams of people around the world to audit, each of their manufacturing facilities on a quarterly basis. Once COVID hit, obviously that travel became impossible. And so they very quickly adopted remote collaboration tools, and they now conduct those audits via eyes on, see what I see capability through intelligent wearables and other appropriate software applications. And what they'll describe is a tremendous, not only savings from reduced travel, but increases in productivity, right? No longer are they spending 2 or 3 days of their week actually traveling back and forth, but now they can be more productive. And what that manufacturer will tell you is that they will never go back to the old way. They will always complete, their audits via remote collaboration tools. And then the second example, and I think we're seeing this very, very broadly across our customer base, they're not just travel restrictions of getting on airplanes, right? They're also what I'll call site level restrictions, where there's simply, many customers are allowing far fewer people to be on site at any given point in time. And what that is doing is requiring people to learn and do more activities, right? So, skill and expertise that used to be with them shoulder to shoulder is no longer with them, and they need an ability to communicate with them remotely. And these kinds of tools and capabilities are allowing them to do that. So people are becoming more skilled. They're building a broader knowledge base. And ultimately, while it has a short-term impact on productivity, in the long term, it's going to make them, entirely more productive than they were before.
Ahmed, if I can bring you in here, and again, the concept of, people not being able to travel. So, if I'm in a remote situation and I need expert help, they cannot come to help me to fix it. So I am going to have to depend on a sense of, virtual mobility. Where do you see the effect in the cost and productivity, particularly when stranded workers are perhaps facing issues or scenarios and maybe can't contact the experts that they need? And forgive us if we have a little bit of interference there. This is what happens with the technology, so bear with us. We thank you for your patience. But hopefully, Ahmed, you heard me there.
Yeah, I heard you, Etne. So, the challenge today is to find kind of like the gap and the balance between how to bring people to the right level in terms of being efficient and productive in the work by being remote, by being not able to travel to go and see customers on site, and at the same time how we can enable them and empower them with the right tools and the right technologies. And I think technology now is very proven to make sure they can be 100% on any questions or any support required from their customers to make sure there's business continuity and there's no downtime, or there are no operations issues or challenges. So that has always been the challenge. Now I think with COVID-19 and the pandemic, it created forced functions to have more of this digital transformation of a lot of business processes and flows that exist already in the industry, in the energy industry, but not only. It has the same impact in the manufacturing industry, in the retail industry, where you need to have all these technologies and processes to be re-engineered and to be reimagined even with a lot of creativity and lots of innovation to make sure that we are always up to speed to support our customers and make sure there is business continuity. So I think from a Microsoft perspective, and I don't want to be biased here and doing a sales pitch, but from a Microsoft perspective, we've spent a lot of time and a lot of investments in the past few years on the cloud and making sure that a lot of processes and a lot of those applications can be available for our customers on the cloud, not only to facilitate this kind of deployment and this implementation, but also to make sure that our customers can take advantage of this platform to reduce the costs as well, to make a lot of savings in terms of how they can really go fast on those new business processes and the reimagination of those processes and flows, and at the same time how we can accelerate the pace of that digital transformation. Satya recently in his pitches said that we've seen 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months. The companies and the digital transformation officers and the business executives at our customers are really putting a lot of pressure on the technology vendors to accelerate the pace of digital transformation, to enable their workforce being remote and being connected and being agile as well, and being resilient, because this needs a lot of resilience, to be honest with you, to make sure that we can deliver always the best-in-class service to their customers and to our customers.
Yes, indeed. And I think every industry will agree, that there was so much already in place. The foundations, I think, without a doubt, for every industry possibly in the world, everybody was heading in that direction, maybe wondering how to escalate this, but without a doubt, the pandemic has given them that little push. And as you say, 2 years in a few months, that's the outcome of this. I'm not at all surprised, but of course, the initiatives that we need and we see from companies like yourself, the big tech giants like Microsoft, we expect it. So keep up the good work. And I know you have a few new operations that you can talk a little bit about later. Alex, talk to us about what you would say constitutes digital enablement, because it's not all created equally around the world, and some people might be ahead of others. But when we look at, I suppose, the trends and levers, what's in place that you would say constitutes digital enablement?
Yeah, that's again great question, and the comments that Ahmad made, I would add adaptability to resilience. So digital enablement, is being accelerated currently, and it's all about people, and it's remote working. Obviously, has created a new path to the right behaviors and processes, and for us, digital enablement is front and center of the digital revolution, if you will, and the connected worker. But to get that enablement, there are a lot of building blocks that need to be put in place in terms of capability, in terms of training, in terms of the KPIs, in terms of the links to the value that the companies need to create. So I just want to caution that it's not just enough to put the technology in place. Yes, we need the technology, but we need the framework to enable people through that technology, and also to be able to address some of the resistance that we're going to get, because the new technology does several things as well. There's more transparency, right? So, the actions of a worker are very evident throughout the organization. That may not have been the case before, when you were writing your daily task on a piece of paper or putting it into a spreadsheet. So there are behaviors and culture changes that need to go alongside that digital enablement.
Yes, indeed. And I think this is part of the conversation I can see evolving here. And it almost ties into a question here for you, David, that's coming from Khaled Reda from P3A Consulting. Can you elaborate just on how the vision is holistic for the worker?
Well, I think it's combining, it's holistic in that it's not just focused on one particular area of improvement. Alex talked about the need for to bring along the worker, right? It's not just the technology, it's the use of the technology, the acceptance of the technology, et cetera. And I think across several dimensions, right? It's not just about productivity and transparency. It's also about competency and building skills, right? So part of this acceptance will be showing the workers that these kinds of tools and capabilities can actually help them in their skill development. It can help them in their performance and their productivity. It can help them, improve their prospects through their career by becoming, an early and an adopted user of these kinds of capabilities. And then obviously in the industrial world, we always need to incorporate safety, right? So, moving to the capability of real-time alerting, for example, geolocation capabilities, where we know where workers are, we can warn them of hazardous situations, and in the event of emergency, we can take immediate action We can provide real-time data. So, those are the kind of things that we need to bring together into one comprehensive capability that thinks very holistically about the worker.
Alex, I have a question perhaps for you, and maybe it's something you're hearing from your clients or hearing from the industry regarding change management. What are the challenges faced, and how have they been addressed, and how are they being addressed? Because it's a very agile situation that's happening. And this is from Jiten in Wood PLC. So if you can maybe address that one.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Really good.
Sorry, that was for Alex, right? Or me? Sorry.
Alex, that one for Alex, if I can.
We can both take it, Ahmad, if you want. I'll kick it off.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't really call it change management anymore. We refer to it as wiring an organization. That means front line, starting with the front line and operations, and moving across, even to the boardroom, and to how you ultimately create value for the enterprise. So we've had to really look at change management and turn it on its head, and really focus, first of all, on the frontline worker through remote connectivity and through the connected worker, and then build those tasks up to the next level of the organization, the next and the next. So where digital programs are not really creating the value that was expected is where that wiring has not been implemented. That change is not sustainable within the organization. There may be an immediate gain, in terms of the new tools, an immediate gain in productivity, but it will tail off over time if it's not sustained. For those of you who've been around in the industry, real-time operations, something that started more than 20 years ago with very fancy screens and real-time operations environments, and those screens and those rooms became conference rooms. So they fell into disuse because they weren't integrated into the day-to-day of the way people work, of their workflows, of their processes. So change management in today's world with wiring goes beyond just the people side, but it's the people using the tools, the way they're measured, the transparency in their decisions, the transparency in the equipment status, the status of the operation and the asset, all the way up to ultimately creating value for the enterprise.
I like that wiring. So yeah, and I suppose we have been talking about change management for so many years. So it's good to get some new energy into the concept. And definitely in terms of what you're looking at Honeywell, and it's a great description for it. Alex, I'm coming back to you because I'm very, very eager to get your this topic as well.
Thanks. Etna, you're breaking up.
If you can carry on the same topic, talking about just what we were talking about there, that concept of how are people managing the change.
Was that for me, Etna? You broke up there a little bit.
Alex,
I couldn't hear.
Yes, please, if we can get it to Alex. Sorry about the technical issues. Alex.
Yeah, so to build upon what I was just saying, essentially an organization's ability to adapt and change is critical in terms of getting this digital enablement that we want to create. We see pockets of resistance in different parts of the organization, and we need to understand those and why that resistance is created. When I speak to my clients, essentially, the solution is there and it's developed, but when they try to roll it out, people always say, I don't want to be first, let somebody else be the guinea pig, and just getting that traction. And I think David alluded to it right at the beginning. Yes, we're moving to remote worker. Yes, COVID has made us do that. We're back in a way forced into that situation. And yes, the tools out there and they're getting better and better, but we're not there yet. And so there's a long way still to go for us to be extracting the value that we should be getting out of digital enablement, even though, we've seen productivity gains, less people on site, and all the things that have been alluded to. But still, we see organizations behaving in silos. Information doesn't always arrive where it should be for better and faster decisions to be made. So we're on a journey here, and we started that journey, and the tools that Microsoft and Honeywell create and the sensors that are there help us on that journey, but we still got a long way to go. Let's not kid ourselves.
Now, Ahmed, I came across this wonderful word recently, and I think for Microsoft, you might enjoy this, quantamentals. And it's about the fundamentals and then, of course, all the quants. And we see this in trading and things like that. But it's basically that the technology cannot exist without the people, so to speak. So with all of the great work you do at Microsoft as well, I mean, people have to be at the heart of this in terms of it's going to make people's lives better, or if it doesn't, it's not going to succeed. Talk to me a little bit about, when you're working on new projects and when you're looking at that, how people-centric is it?
So thanks, Etna, for this question. And just want to start with Microsoft mission, which is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So that mission, which is purely based on people and the empowerment of people to achieve more and to drive the creativity, the innovation, and all the different areas in terms of progress and accomplishment in terms of business outcomes. So for us, that's key. And just to build on what Alex was saying on the change management and the wiring topic, which is very interesting, is that if you look at the digital transformation today that companies are undertaking, definitely technology is one piece of it, but there is the culture, the mindset, and the vision, which are as important as the technology. If I may say, even more important. You need to have the proper environment in terms of culture and mindset to make sure that the people are leveraging those technologies and those new services that are coming their ways to make sure they can deliver the value out of it. So this mindset and culture in Microsoft actually is super important. It's becoming, a key pillar in everything we do in terms of how we coach, how we care, how we become kind of even role models in terms of the people inside the organization to drive that transformation, not only, again, from a digital perspective, but as well from a business perspective.
Yes, it is. It really has to be almost going back to David's, where they're holistic in many ways. Let's do another poll question here, if I may, and we'll get it up here. Did you implement new technologies as part of your company's COVID response? So let's get the poll question up and think about, what has changed and what is different in terms of, when we look back a year ago and we look at the technologies that were in place and the technologies that perhaps you were looking at. So did you implement new technologies as part of your company's COVID response? Let's get that poll question up there. And again, just your choices on it, that yes, you did, and you did this early on. Perhaps that you did, and we're looking for ways to optimize them, or maybe you're still relying on your old technologies and you're maybe going to take a look. I have another question here, if I may, for David, a perfect one for here. And it's a great question, actually, that's coming from Mick Neal at ExxonMobil. So thank you for this one, Mick. And I think it's where, people are thinking about it. When we look at digital skills, what do young workers lack, David? Given the abundance of mobile devices and social media that they all seem to use. So the digital natives that are coming into this industry, are there any skills? They seem to have the digital skills, but, for a sustainable profession in this industry for the future, is there anything they lack? David, that one for you, and maybe for Alex. David.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Etna. Thank you, Nick. That's a great question. I think, one of the challenges that we're seeing across our customer base is digital natives have certain expectations. They've grown up with these kinds of devices and these kinds of capabilities, and they, quite simply, they're able to accomplish what they want to accomplish almost instantly, right? They get access to the information they need. And so when we get, into our professional and industrial environments, are we providing them the same level of capability that they've grown up with, right? Can they get access to the information that they need to do their job right away? Can they get access to, how-to information right away, right? Can they get hold of the expertise that they need to right away? And so I think, in terms of, they're obviously fully skilled in the ability to use and understand and embrace technology. And I think we need to ask ourselves as the industry leaders here, are we up to the task? Are we providing them with the same level of capability in their professional life that they've enjoyed forever in their personal life? And I think that's incumbent upon us to do so.
Alex, I think I'd love to bring you in on this one as well, because, talking to clients, and in fact, I'm going to bring you all in on this one, because there's going to be obviously Ahmed when we think about this as well. So Alex.
Yeah, so for the younger workforce, clearly these new ways of working and the acceleration to new ways of working, extremely welcomed and embraced. You find very little resistance there. You find a bit more resistance in the more established employees of the oil company that have been doing things in the same way repeatedly for a long, long time. And so really what we don't want is a two-speed world where we have one subset of the organization embracing and another subset of the organization fighting against it. So again, what we need to create is alignment inside the organization, so that when we deploy the tools, everybody, again, this is what I refer to as digital democracy. It's digital for all, not just digital for the young, employees in the organization who take to it very, very, very easily. And so again, it's alignment, it's having visibility into the value that needs to be created. We do that through something called value driver trees. It's the KPIs, how people are being measured. So there's a whole host of things that go alongside the technology to really get the best out of the workforce, regardless of whether, they're younger or older.
Ahmed, talk to me about this, because you're looking, and you're probably closer in age to all those digital natives. So when you think of what you need out there in terms of skills and what you hear from clients, particularly in oil and gas, in energy, in mining, in manufacturing, all of that, is it just good enough to actually have the digital skills, and everybody else really needs to upskill, so to speak?
Thank you, Etna, and thanks for the compliment. I think I think the question is how to strike this balance of vertical and horizontal skills and competencies to achieve this holistic digital progress. And for me, definitely the youth are bringing a lot of creativity, right? And they are always up to speed when it comes to the technology, what's happening on the digital side, on the social media. They are always on top of, the research and development happening on many, many fronts. And at the same time, you have all these skills and experiences from the vertical perspective, which we call them the vertical talent or the vertical competencies, which are the strengths into the process, into the industry, into the strategic capabilities of the business outcomes. And we need to find this balance between how we leverage both competencies and both, I would say, generations to really be able to achieve this holistic digital progress. And just to give an example, in Microsoft, we have this Aspire program, where we have a lot of young people coming from universities straight to Microsoft and put into really important critical roles in Microsoft, in technology roles, to really help from a creativity perspective to lead with some great initiatives that we're doing on the cybersecurity, on the cloud, on the IoT, on the digital twins. So all these kind of artificial intelligence, machine learning technologies that we are having. So we're leveraging those creative people and those people who are really, really, great into this adoption of those technology skills to be able to move forward on the digital. But I still believe that this balance between the vertical competencies and the horizontal competencies that those young people are bringing is really key to achieve this holistic digital progress.
Great. Let me come back to, in fact, let's go to the poll and let's see what you at home are thinking. We still have a few more questions up there, so that's really good. But can we go to the poll if I can here? So here we are, and the winning answer, so to speak, here. Yes, and we're looking at even more ways to optimize them. David, I want to bring you in here because earlier you also talked about, the data that is out there and so much data that's not being utilized and not been analyzed, so to speak. So perhaps you could address this concept here that people are looking to add more technology, but also the value it will bring, and particularly in terms of what we can do with, I suppose, the analytics of the data. Because I think this industry for a long time has been great at collecting the data, but maybe not so great at doing the analysis on it. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think this is, I'm not surprised by these results. Obviously, I think, we all expected that, there simply had to be a response to COVID, right? And a lot of the response had to come in the form of technology. And so, I think what we've seen through our customer base is, COVID has exposed some weaknesses, right? And those weaknesses might be from, an over-reliance on a particular individual or a small set of individuals that have been doing something for a long, long time, and not having those individuals be able to, be accessed and be on site has exposed some operating inefficiencies, right? And I think, what our customers are looking for is, how can we do a better job of, optimizing our entire industrial set of data and processes and build additional strengths and additional capabilities so that when we get surprises like COVID, we're in a better situation to respond to them and address them and to keep operating normally. So, yeah, our customers are very interested. I think one of the other things that we're seeing is COVID has accelerated the desire for integration, right? I think we're in an industry that historically has adopted a lot of very siloed solutions that have often been kept independent from each other. And I think what we're seeing now is this huge desire to integrate these systems, optimize these processes, share data across systems, develop learnings from one set of competencies to the other. And so that whole concept of integration and enterprise performance management is very big for us right now.
Let's just actually go to another poll question because it fits in exactly after what you're talking about here. So we get this other poll question up here. Are you planning to keep in place the technologies you've adopted as part of your company's COVID response? So David talking there about a lot of the technologies that have been put in place, but a lot of people have put them in place too out of necessity. I mean, that is very clear. But again, let's have a think. Are you going to keep them in place? So it's either, yes, we're going back to pre-COVID levels. We'll keep them for the next 12 months, or we're going to keep them and look for better ways to optimize. So how has this actually changed how you deal with the technology? While we're getting those results here, Alex, let me come to you on a question here. And this is a question from Zaki Rule at Solvent University. Let me just find it again. It's the technology is moving a little bit faster than me today. And really looking at training, this one, looking at the training challenges and new ways of working during the pandemic, how the workers choose to be connected, particularly on training and learning. I mean, I think everybody is getting so used to training and learning right now and doing so much online, and there's so much to choose from. But bring it industry specific, Alex, if you will. And where do you see, how are things changed there, and how is it working?
Yeah, so I think the good news is that from an effectiveness and productivity standpoint, given so many of the modules are now the training modules, whether they're generic in terms of continuous improvement or industry specific, they are now available online. And we've seen an acceleration in mentorship. That is where, the more senior and experienced people are available to mentor the younger employees to develop their capability. So remote connectivity, connected worker has actually accelerated training and created the knowledge worker, or empowered the knowledge worker, if you will, through the training modules, through the access to best practices, which are now being put online much more than before. And I think, as David said before, a lot of information, a lot of knowledge was in silos. Different people were carrying around lots of expertise, and if you couldn't get a hold of them, you had some trouble making a decision. So that connectivity has really helped. And then on top of that, I would say, there are the tools that are out there that are starting to show great value, such as AI, ML. but AI/ML is no good without domain expertise. So again, back to the training and back to people learning about the trade, and I would stress again, being mentored by the more experienced people, and that's so much easier to do, in the new world, because people are, glued in a way to their laptops, and now they're 24/7, some of them, but spending a lot of time interacting with their peers, interacting with other people in the organization. So it's actually accelerated training, and we've got different modules that demonstrate that. And it's been one of our priorities in our programs, is getting the training set up properly, because without training, you don't get the capability building that you need for the competency and capability that you need in the new world.
Indeed, and it is so essential, particularly in the energy sector, and particularly with so many changes as well. Now, the results of our poll are very, very clear there, and Ahmed, this must be a gift to you. Looking there where people are saying the majority, 87% and above, saying we're looking at more ways. So they are going to keep the new technologies they put in place and really looking at new ways. Has the industry, changed in that sense, whereby there is no going back when it comes to the use of technology in this industry right now? Ahmed.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. This is what we're hearing from our customers every day, is how to reimagine new path or new ways of driving their business, reimagining their business processes, and even reimagining business models. It's not even only about technologies, it's even about reimagining some of the business models that energy companies or manufacturing companies or even retail companies are facing today. So I think, as I said before, I think just on the pace that we're seeing on the digital transformation, it's going pretty fast. We're even sometimes we're getting a lot of pressure to come up with solutions, resources very quickly to be able to deliver on a very quick deployment, implementation of some of those solutions. And the gap, to be honest with you, what we're seeing as well, the gap between what we call the forerunners, who are moving straight forward to the deployment of the use case or the scenario, versus starting with a POC or a pilot and see how this POC is going to deliver the results. There's now kind of like a gap between those companies still in the POC mode versus those companies really moving very quickly, taking some risks to the implementation, deployment to their employees and to their workforce and to their partners in terms of the service they can deliver. And 87% today, and this is based on some IDC reports, 87% of those companies who are really like driving this deployment and taking the risk are going to realize the outcome and the benefits from this digital transformation versus the others. So definitely, it's a good news for us, because majority of those companies and those services, with Honeywell, we're working a lot of those industry use cases and scenarios for sustainability, for energy management, for circular economy, for carbon emission removal from the different systems. So all these solutions are becoming now critical, right? Ready to move, and all these solutions now are kind of becoming very tangible as well. It's not just like ideas that we'll see in the future how this will work. It's becoming really tangible, and the cloud is helping a lot to accelerate that pace of the transformation.
Indeed. Thank you so much for that. A question here from Summer at Newmite Consulting, one for you, David, if I may. Connected worker has always been an option. We used to discuss work-life balance, and today, what are we missing? Is it the social part of the working environment and customer meetings? All the focus now on productivity and efficiency. Are there any studies on the impact of this on the society and human relations? Maybe that's one for Alex, but just come back to, for you, David, looking at the wider thing. We've always been looking at the connected worker, but is there a danger now that the big focus, I get the feeling it's almost the other way around, but what do you say?
Yeah, I think it's the other way around as well. I think a part of the focus on connected worker is if we provide the right level of tools and capabilities to drive this productivity and efficiency and to drive this fix it right the first time, I think that frees up additional time for interaction and engagement, right? And so, these are tools, I think of these less as tools designed to isolate, but more tools designed to be high quality with efficiency so that the appropriate level of engagements can happen. And, I miss the interaction as much as anyone. I'm sure we all do. And at Honeywell, we don't think of the tools necessarily in that way, right? And so I think, these types of tools and capabilities are necessary. They're inevitable. And I think they're going to add a lot of value and actually contribute to our ability to engage, in the future.
Okay, we have time for one last poll question before we sort of wrap it up. And very quickly, it's the question that I was more excited about in the beginning. So let's get it up here. Productivity, how has it been? Have we seen changes in it? Is everybody equally productive? Are they less productive? Or indeed, are they more productive? Cast your votes on that one there. And Alex, perhaps I'm going to start our wrap up and let's see what everybody thinks on this. So yes, talking about productivity and also looking to the future in terms of, how this new future is going to play out. Alex.
Yeah, thanks very much, Etna. So essentially, we had a global existential moment with COVID-19, and we've had an industry existential moment in 2020. The industry felt severely under threat last year, particularly. That led to a lot more focus on cost and value. That led to more focus on integration and real time and connectivity. And then we start looking at the building blocks, data and systems that we've talked about, expertise. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to people, right? And so it's people that are going to execute these changes. It's people that are going to be connected to make better decisions faster. So I think we need to get the whole package correctly, in line and with all the right building blocks. So that's all. My last message is, humans, we have a problem. So let's make sure that the technology really does make people more efficient, more productive. As we said, we've seen signs of that. We need to keep it going.
Thank you so much. We'll get the results of the poll up when they come in there. And in the meantime, Ahmed, again, when we look at productivity and we look at the enablement from technology, clearly, we have a tie almost there. People thinking that we're equally as productive with or without all the changes on that. But again, and then there was a warning that we're less productive. Come in quickly on this one, wrap it up for me. What do we need to do to maybe be changing this attitude and becoming more productive?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot from this pandemic as well, in terms of how to measure productivity, because there were a lot of kind of tangible KPIs to measure productivity. There are even tools, even in Microsoft, we have what we call the workplace analytics. Those are technologies, solutions and tools that we use and that our customers use to measure the productivity and the efficiency of the people, as well as the collaboration. Because the level of collaboration that can happen between different people in the organization, sometimes, there are a lot of silos. And interesting enough, post the pandemic, the collaboration, which one of the KPIs for productivity, increases by 27%. In majority of the companies. There is much more collaboration happening right now between the different business segments, the IT, the engineering, the research, that was before pandemic. So that it's interesting to see that, because that created more productivity in the system, and that created more efficiency, because now there's more collaboration and there's more people talking to each other in terms of how to align, how to map, how to drive this transformation in the different areas.
And that's what we need to happen,
yeah.
Really. Thank you. Again, I'm going to leave the final word here for David. When we look at the energy industry is under transformation, but again, I think the workforce is as well. So when we look to the future, what do we need to do to make sure that we're all heading in the right direction and success will be there for everybody?
Yeah, I think we need to embrace this digital transformation journey that we're all on. I think, we're seeing our customers are moving at different speeds and they're in different phases of their journey. But, at this point, this is no longer a choice, right? This is going to be required for us to be successful long term in this industry. We need to transform it, and we need to transform digitally. And we at Honeywell look forward to working with our customers to help them along the way.
Thank you so much. And indeed, thank you, gentlemen, for all of your insight, for bringing us on a journey in terms of what's happening in the industry, what has happened, where we need to go, and indeed how we're going to get there. It's been a real joy to have everybody on board here from Microsoft. Ahmed, Aldan, Achi, thank you so much for being with us. Partners in Performance, Alex Oliveira, thank you again for being with us. And from Honeywell, David Griffin, a million thanks. And again, as our partners for this webinar, it's been wonderful to have you. To all of you who have joined us, forgive us for a few minor technical difficulties here. This happens from time to time, but I do want to thank you for staying on board, bringing your questions in, taking part of our poll. And of course, do stay connected. This webinar will turn it around as quickly as we can so people can actually have a look, and we have some resources there that you can read and add some value, particularly about this topic. I think it's something that everybody is of interest to you. So, of course, stay connected with ADIPEC as we look forward to ADIPEC 2021, November in Abu Dhabi. All eyes, of course, on what we're planning and what's going to happen. So keep an eye on the website, on all our social media channels, and we'll look forward to connecting with you on more ADIPEC webinars in the months to come. So in terms of the connected worker, what can I leave you with? Stay connected. That's where it's all happening. From all of the team here at ADIPEC Webinars, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep safe.